Welcome to Me Reimagined, a space where we step into the impossible version of ourselves, a version we only dream of, so we can create lives we love and the impact we are meant to make. Welcome. This is the second episode in a two-part series. In the episode last week, we took stock of how you are directing your life, of whether you are orienting toward what you want to feel, the experience you want to create for yourself, or whether you are orienting your life toward the boxes that society tells you to check. To check that, you wrote down the goals that you had set in 2024, and then the feeling that they were supposed to give you. We turned your goals upside down because your true goal is the feeling, not the boxes. The questions we worked through helped you see if the goals that you set in 2024, even if you hadn't reached those goals, were aligned with the feeling that you wanted. Toward the end of the episode, we reflected on 12 powerful questions that you use to get very intentional about designing a life that works for you. A life that is oriented toward a feeling with strategies that add up to that feeling that give you the sense of fulfillment and satisfaction that's missing from your life. Today, I am going to lay out a 4-step process that is distilled and woven together from 2 different books, Think and Grow Rich and The Science of Getting Rich. The PDFs to these books are linked in the show notes, and they're worth a read. These 2 books, while they use the theme of money to illustrate the basic concept, offer universal principles that will help you create goals based on the feeling you want to have at the end of your life and create a framework to check those boxes. So the very first step you should take to define your framework for 2025 is to decide what feeling you are orienting toward, and then to create a burning desire for that feeling. So first, we are going to do a mini version of Simon Sinek's Find Your Why. This book is also linked in the show notes and is a great read if you are looking to further define your motivations and set a direction. First, close your eyes and take a deep breath in through your nose for 4 counts and out through your mouth for 8 counts. Picture yourself in childhood. What were you yearning for? Take a moment in time when you experienced adversity in childhood. What would you have needed to find relief or reassurance in the situation? When you add what you needed to make the situation okay, do you experience a sense of completeness? Now do the same for a positive experience in childhood. What was it that made it so awesome? What were the ingredients that made you feel satisfied and fulfilled? Pause the podcast and try to find the rest of your childhood highlights, the best moments, and the lowlights, the worst moments, as you did with the 2 examples above. If you want to be really thorough, do this all the way up through today. When you've done that, look at each situation or event and write one word that would describe the theme of the moment. For example, if it's a low moment, write the one word that would describe what you were yearning for, what you were missing. If it's a high moment, write one word to describe why that moment was so complete, so satisfying. Pause the podcast as you need to complete this exercise. Now draw a horizontal line on a piece of paper and plot the themes that you wrote down along the line in order of time. We are creating your timeline of these highlights and lowlights. So you place all of the themes from the positive moments above the line and all of the themes from the negative moments below the line. To give you an example for clarity, my parents' divorce in 1987 was a low light in my childhood. So I would plot the theme word for that moment, which for me is separation, disconnection, under the horizontal line toward the beginning of it. The birth of my son in 2016 is a highlight, and the theme word for that is heart connection. And so I place that above the line on the right-hand side toward the end. Now, once you've done that, and you have a horizontal line with all of your highlight themes placed in order of time above, and all of your low light themes placed in order of time below the horizontal line, I want you to take that paper and hold it away from you at arm's length. Look at the theme words. What story emerges from those words? Remember, this is what works for you in the highlight moments, and it's what you need to make the negative situations work for you. So what do these words tell you that you want to feel? So if you didn't pause the podcast because you're listening when you're out for a walk, commit to completing the exercise and come back. This is worth doing, and it is often surprising what emerges. For me, when I look at my timeline of moments, what I see is a sense of connection with self and a sense of togetherness with others. This is when I feel most satisfied in what I was yearning for. The story that you see now, when you look at this piece of paper, this is your compelling reason. This is your why. So now we're going to take this and we're going to sum it up in a single statement using an adapted version of Simon Sinek's formula. And this is going to serve as your personal vision. And we're going to use this later to develop a mission statement and a description of the whole vision. So take the word to, T-O, and write that on a paper and draw a line after it, comma, so that, and draw a line after that and put a period. Then write, this makes me feel, and draw a line. You'll be filling things into these lines. So this makes me feel, draw a line, because I need, draw a line, period. The first part that Simon Sinek wrote is to, and you want to insert your contribution here. What is it that you are going to give or contribute? And then so that, what is the impact that you're going to make? As an example, mine is to teach people how to connect with themselves so that they can come together with others from love. So the next part, which is what I have adapted, this makes me feel, and you insert a feeling, because I need, and you insert a need. So my example is this: teaching people how to connect with themselves so they come together with others from love. This makes me feel valuable. This makes me feel powerful, because I need to matter, because I need to make an impact, to give back. Okay, so pause the podcast as you need and take time to write your statement of your personal vision. Okay, you've completed the first part of defining the feeling. Now you're going to develop a clear picture of that feeling. The statement that you wrote above is likely to be rather vague. In fact, it should be a bit vague because this theme should be able to encompass all variations of how this might manifest in your life. For me, togetherness, well, it might be building a family. It might be creating co-living spaces. It might be working with organizations to change how they lead, how they bring people together. So your overarching theme should point you in a clear direction, but be flexible enough to accommodate different possibilities. But, and there's a big but here, you also need to form a clear and definite picture of what you want. You cannot manifest things from the universe if you don't know what you want. You cannot transmit an idea unless you understand it for yourself. If you only have a vague and misty concept of what you want to become, do, or have, then that is the energy that you send out. So you will get a vague and misty energetic return from the universe. It isn't enough to want good health or to be wealthy or to make an impact. Everybody wants those things. So a metaphor that I sometimes use is if you were going to text a friend, you wouldn't send a message with, the letters of the alphabet in order. Everyone learns how to do that. You also wouldn't take random words out of the dictionary. You would need to use that text and the letters of the alphabet to construct a specific, coherent sentence, one that means something. It's the same with the universal law of attraction. You cannot send out unformed longings and vague desires. Well, you can, but then that's likely what you're going to get back. So pause the podcast and fix in your mind the exact picture of the life that you want to build. How do you feel? What are the color of your socks? Are you in a warm or a cold place? Who are you close to? What is the color of your bedroom? What does the wind feel like on your face? Is there wind? The more clear and definite you make your picture, and the more that you focus on that picture, bringing out all of the delightful details, the stronger your desire for it becomes. And the stronger your desire, the more burning that it is, the easier it's going to be to keep your mind fixed on the picture of what you want. Okay, the statement of your personal vision with a specific description of what that means for you should be developing nicely by now. If you've paused the podcast to actually do this, you know how you want to feel, and you have a mental picture of what that will look like. Now it's time to determine exactly what you are willing to give in return for the life that you desire. There is no such reality as something for nothing. The process does work. I can attest to that. Idun can attest to that. But you must be able to overcome mental laziness. And I don't think people are lazy, but I definitely think our brains are built to keep things simple, to conserve energy. So you will have to overcome your brain. You will have to overcome a desire for comfort. We like to stay inside our comfort zone, and you will have to put in the work. It's not an easy process. So take a moment and visualize the roadblocks that you're going to hit as you move toward your dream. So, for example, say that your dream is to be super healthy and fit, and you want to be in the top 2% of all people in the world. And so you're training for a marathon as part of this, and you're excited about it. But then when it's 5 a.m. and it's raining and cold, suddenly the dream seems a lot less appealing than staying in bed. This is when you need to lean into your commitment. This is when you have to give to get. So write an intention for what you will do when the going gets tough, as they say. Now, the next step is to establish a definite date for when you intend to have this life that you desire. Don't choose what you think is possible. Choose what you want. I mean, don't say you're going to be a millionaire tomorrow if you aren't within a percentage point of that today. But don't think, my God, on my salary, this is going to take me a lifetime, and put down 2074 as your goal date. Put the date that your intuition gives you. So after these instructions, again, I want you to pause the podcast, and I want you to picture yourself creating your personal vision, your why, your compelling reason. So you refer to the vision statement that you drafted above, that overarching direction, and you write out a mission statement, a clear, concise plan of the life that you intend to create. So, like you would with any project, you name a time limit for its creation, you give it a deadline, right? And then you put in some milestones, some things that excite you. And you state what resources you intend to invest, whether that's financial, whether that's effort, whether that's creativity. And then describe the plan through which you intend to create this life. And you can add indicators that sort of tell you if you're on track. And those milestones that you're looking at, they can be negative. They don't have to be positive. It still tells you that you're on track. So, for example, my vision is to help people to connect to themselves so they can come together with love. My mission statement is, within the next year, I will extrapolate the process I followed to transform my own life. I will create a training that other people can follow. I will build an engaged community that supports each other through the reimagining process. And I will create at least one co-living space by the end of 2025. So it includes what I'm willing to commit in terms of financial investment, time, partnerships. Now, your picture and your plan will be different, but it needs to be no less clear about the what, the how, and the when of your reimagining. And then you must begin at once, whether you're ready or not, to put this plan into action. You can start wherever you are with what you have today. So, for example, when I started, I didn't have a lot to invest. So I got creative and I started the podcast in my closet. Whatever you do it mindfully, with heart, do it with intention, do it with focus, and it will come. If you find yourself saying that you'll start tomorrow, or you'll start when you have X, or when you feel Y, stop. There is something you can do right now. What is it? Remember your commitment to do the mentally taxing thing, to get out of your comfort zone, to put in the work. If you find yourself faltering or quitting, immediately find somewhere to be private, close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and then picture your vision. Bring it to life. Make that emotional connection. Bring the vision back front and center and keep your focus on it. So there are two things to flag as you do this. If you find that you need to do this 10 times a day to stay on track, you may need to adjust your vision and mission statement to make sure they create a more compelling reason. For some reason, this one may not be speaking to you. If it's a big transition, like Idun or Susanna, who shared their life transition stories in earlier episodes, you might need to check in with the vision frequently in the beginning, either for comfort when you're too far outside of your comfort zone, or for inspiration if your life doesn't yet reflect your new mindset. But remember, you can start today with whatever you have. Okay, so the last piece of this is that you are going to read your written statement aloud and reflect on that vision description that you wrote twice daily. You're going to do it once in the morning and once at night for at least 90 days. That's what I challenge you to do, because that's what I did and it worked. So as you read, you see, you feel, you believe yourself as if you're already living that life. So make the emotional connection. See yourself dressed as you would, doing what you will be doing in the life that you love, and then act from that space. Okay, so we've completed the biggest and the deepest of the 4 steps. The others are simpler. If you take away nothing else from this podcast than this piece, you've already given yourself a massive gift and started 50% of a total life transformation. Way to go. You're a rock star. Okay, now for step 2. Step 2 is about faith, right? You have to believe in yourself. You have to have faith in yourself and in the universe. You must train yourself to subconsciously learn to believe that you can. Now, you can learn to believe this by state change and focus. You change your mood and you turn your focus toward what you're creating. You state change and then think thoughts that are positive and generative, and you connect to them emotionally. You know this is working when you act as if what you are trying to believe is already true. So your subconscious transmutes that belief into the physical equivalent. I believe X, so X comes true. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, you may have caught a phrase I just used. Do you know what I mean by state change? So technically, state change is when something keeps its essence but changes form. So water changes from liquid to gas to solid as the temperature changes. And this is what I'm suggesting you do. You're not changing your essential nature, but you are changing, often very dramatically, how you feel and see the world. So when you state change, you literally shift the chemical levels in your bloodstream and induce positive emotions. And I'm not kidding. This is the secret sauce, the superpower to help you feel joy in the face of adversity and to stay on track when you might habitually get stuck. Now, there are lots of ways to state change. I use breathwork and dancing, but I think other people find meditation, deep belly laughter, the kind that just makes you cry with laughter, extreme exercise, and mindful, intentional affection. So, giving someone a kiss for more than a minute, that also works. And those things turn on your parasympathetic nervous system such that you feel safe, and that helps you be creative. And so, state changing is the secret sauce to self belief. When you state change, what you repeat to yourself is more positive and hopeful than when you are swamped with self doubt. And you feel positive and hopeful. You will believe whatever you repeat to yourself, whether the statement is true or false. So if you repeat a lie over and over, you will eventually accept that lie as truth. Moreover, you will believe it to be the truth. You are what you are because of the dominating thoughts that you permit, that you allow to occupy your mind. So the thoughts which you deliberately focus on and encourage, and then if you mix those thoughts with strong emotions, that literally creates a motivating force which directs and controls every move, every choice, every action, all of your outcomes. Those thoughts mixed with any emotion constitute a magnetic force which attracts related vibrations. That's also bringing back in that idea of being specific because you want to attract specific things. So, one thing to flag is that if you are not consistently focusing on the story that you are telling yourself and the thoughts that pass through your mind, then whenever you are outside of your comfort zone, whenever things start to feel difficult, you're going to start sending out vibrations of self doubt and disbelief. And those vibrations move you farther away from the life that you would love. Every hour, every moment that you spend giving heed to those doubts, those fears, every hour that you sit in worry, every moment that your mind, your soul are filled with disbelief calls in that same amount of doubt and fear and worry. So pay attention to this. So there's a poem that comes out of Think and Grow Rich that I think is really relevant here. And it's, if you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you like to win but think you can't, it is almost certain you won't. If you think you'll lose, you're lost. For out of the world we find success begins with your will. It's all in the state of mind. If you think you're outclassed, you are. You've got to think high to rise. You've got to be sure of yourself before you can ever win a prize. Life's battles don't always go to the strongest or the fastest woman, but to the woman who thinks she can. Staying connected to your compelling reason, your why, and bringing that vision to life are so critical to make sure your vibration stays high and you are able to take action from the mindset as if you are already inhabiting the life that you love. One key thing you can do to troubleshoot this is to write down a series of milestones. So I mentioned this before, but these are key scaffolding images that will help you connect to that vision. So if you reverse engineer your vision from your deadline, so if you said you'll create the vision of life that you would love in 1 year or 5 years, take that, map out what that means from then to now. So go backwards from then to now. What milestones will you have reached as you get a fourth of the way down the road? What about halfway down the road? And then map out milestones for when you're about 2/3 or 3/4 of the way through the transformation. What do those milestones look like? And remember when I mentioned that you could use negative ones too. So for me, creating an engaged community, maybe a milestone is about 2 months of crickets in the group. And then in month 4, suddenly there are chirps. When I mark the negative milestone, I can say with pride that yes, there are crickets. I'm not getting engagement, but this is expected based on typical group behavior that I researched. And it means that I've been posting regularly, and that's to be celebrated. Also, I could use a backlog of work as a milestone. So creating extra podcast episodes to be able to make space to create my training, well, that feels like a pile of work, but it becomes a milestone that I can emotionally connect to and bring up the picture of me having published 30 episodes and created the hell out of a training that transforms the life of anyone who signs up. So now we're going to shift a little bit and talk about how you induce faith, how you induce self-belief when it's hard, when you don't have it, when that dream life feels just like a dream, not like reality. So you might be thinking that a lot of this sounds kind of that pie in the sky. It sounds a bit far-fetched to just start believing in yourself and do a bit of breathing and write down some milestones and you'll feel great. To that, I say it's not an overnight process. Actually, the state change is. It's a pretty immediate feeling, but you have to stick with it to continue through to a constantly raised worldview. For the rest, raising your vibration, seeing the beauty in the world, even in the challenging moments, and deeply believing that you have what it takes no matter what, those things come with time and constant faith. So I can't tell you exactly how to arrive at faith, but I can tell you how to induce it. And there are two pieces to it. So the first is that it's your subconscious mind that raises your vibration. And it's your conscious mind, the mind that you think with, that you control, that's the gatekeeper to your subconscious mind. You must put in the work to allow your subconscious mind to raise your vibration. And you do this by policing your conscious mind, your thoughts, and shifting your attention towards what is expansive, toward what you would love, toward what brings you alive, toward your vision. And you very intentionally avoid focusing on what is not working, what is negative. So you have the choice. You can either feed your subconscious mind with healthy things, or you can poison it with unhealthy things. And it is absolutely a choice. And if you don't make a choice and you go with the lazy brain and you don't take an active role in policing your thoughts, your mind will make the choice for you and it will go with what's easiest. So your mind is built to and will choose a negative or habitual, comfortable thought pathway. So the second piece to inducing faith is that faith is born of gratitude. The easiest way to start practicing gratitude is that every time you notice yourself saying something critical, you're full of discontent, pause and then claim something that you are grateful for alongside that. So you're adding to the criticism, you're adding something positive. And then after you do that for a while, there's a second phase where you shift from criticism and seeing the negative to flipping that same complaint into gratitude, seeing the positive within the negative. So you are no longer just pairing the complaint or criticism with something else that's positive. You are actually scouting the diamond inside or within the complaint. So as you practice this, you'll organically begin to notice what you're grateful for. And when you have a grateful mind, you expect good things. The expectation that something good will happen to you, will happen by you, will happen for you. Well, that's faith. The expectation becomes faith. So one really awesome way to practice both gratitude and self-belief at the same time is to make a list of what you are grateful for, but then also note how you contributed to it. If someone cried on your shoulder and you felt grateful that they shared with you, well then note that you contributed by creating a space where they felt safe and seen. You developed a relationship in which they knew they could rely on you. Whatever it is, make a note of the role you played. On a side note, if there's something we cover in this podcast that you are curious about or something with which you want support as you begin to check your own boxes to move toward a reimagined life, join us in the Me Reimagine Facebook group where we'll be exploring each step in more detail. So that's the second step. The first is to define the feeling and make it into a burning desire. The second is to have and induce faith where you believe that you can and you will. And the third is to take action. So you're going to move your compelling desire, your burning desire into action. Now, remember, we said this before. This process, it's for you, but only if you're willing to get out of your comfort zone if you are willing to put in the work, if you are willing to overcome your mental fatigue. You don't get something for nothing. You can put out as many good vibrations as you want, but if you don't prepare to receive them, when they come, you won't be able to accept or collect or harness what comes. To give you a metaphor, you can throw all the balls out there if you want, but if you don't have your tennis racket in hand, you're not going to be able to return or receive the ball when it comes back. So this leads us to what we're going to look at now, which is your willpower, because it is your will that determines where you put your attention. So if you want to become rich, you don't study poverty. You don't manifest things by thinking about their opposite. So you don't attain good health, right? By reading and thinking about disease. Through your vision, focusing your attention and your emotions on it, you send creative energy out that calls that vision to you. But then you only receive it with action. So in a previous step, you outlined some milestones for that vision, that mission statement. You can use those to create a plan of action. You write a to-do list that you can schedule. You put it on your calendar, and then you commit. You don't move it more than once. After you've moved it once, if you weren't able to get to it, then you do it. You don't move it again. And whatever you do, you start now. You schedule something this week. So one thing that frequently gets in the way for my clients, and it's gotten in the way for myself in the past as well, is this idea of acting in the past or the future. You cannot act in either the past or the future, and they both often hold you back. If your attention is stuck in the past, you didn't do it then, so you can't do it now, or there's something in the past that you haven't resolved, and those emotions, well, they've come from the past and they are still in your present and they keep you stuck. It is essential to the clearness of your vision and the action that you take now that you are not stuck in the past. It is also essential that you don't focus on the future. How many times do you get lost in that game of what if? That's the future. You can't act in the future because the future isn't here yet. And if you act in the present with your mind on the past or the future, well, then your action in the here, in your now, will be with a divided mind. And that's not effective. You put your whole mind into your present action. And then whatever action you take will begin in your current situation, your here and now. And remember, we said that you start today, now, to inhabit this new life. That means in your mind and in whatever actions you are taking, you are the person you are becoming. You're already that person. And so you act on the people and things in your present environment. You don't wait for a change of environment before you act. You get a change of environment through action. Now, one key thing to note is that you move forward by being larger than where you are and who you are now, literally by outgrowing yourself, by outgrowing your situation. So when an organism has more life than can be expressed in I guess you could say the functions of its own plane, right? Then it develops to a higher plane. So plants evolved from amoeba. They've shown that recently. So a single-celled organism. It eventually outgrew and became something else. It outgrew itself. That law is the same for you. Your creating the life that you love depends on your applying this principle to yourself. You need to outgrow your situation, outgrow yourself. And every day you are either growing or you are shrinking. If every day you shrink, you're never going to make it to the life that you love, to the woman that you want to become, to create what you want to create. On the other hand, if every day you're growing, well, then you can't fail. Now, it's life, right? So you will have days that you shrink. But if you have 10 days where you grow and 1 day where you shrink, well, you've moved the needle forward. You are getting closer, much closer, to the woman that you want to become, to the life you want to have, to the impact that you want to make. One key thing about this is that if there are things each day that promote your growth and you step into those things, you move toward the life you're creating. When you don't do those things, the consequences may be more disastrous than you imagine because it's like a ripple in a pond. We don't see necessarily what else we impact. But you were put here for a purpose, and you are meant to make specific ripples. And so when you grow every day and you make the ripples that you were intended to make, well, then you're moving things forward, not just to the life you love, but to the impact that you're meant to make. Now, when you hear me say that if something should be done, you should do it right away and do it today, I'm not talking about overwork. I am not suggesting that you rush to create something and you take on a myriad of tasks and you do, and you get lost in that. And in fact, we get lost in a competitive mindset of we have to do more and have more to be more. But I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting actually that you step out of that, because when you leave the competitive mind, you understand that you don't need to act hastily. No one is going to beat you to the thing that you want to do. There is enough space for everybody. So if you try to create a collaboration or get into a space and it doesn't happen, trust the process, because a better way will open up for you a little farther on, and there's plenty of time. The things that I'm talking about putting off are when you put off something and turn to Netflix. You go back into the numbing. You go back into more of the same. You recheck boxes that you've already checked that you know don't serve you. That's when you're shrinking. So do everything that you can do in a day to grow, but do it without haste. Don't do it with worry or fear. Go as fast as you can, do as much as you can, but never hurry. Do what feels intuitively good and expansive. And remember, actually, that the moment that you begin to hurry, that you have to do, you're in push energy. You're not in pull energy. So you cease to be a creator and you become a competitor. The push energy, it comes from scarcity. So whenever you find yourself hurrying, stop. Fix your attention on the mental image of what you want, of that vision, of that statement. Repeat the statement to yourself. Connect to it emotionally and give thanks that you are getting it, that you are on your way. Get excited about it. So the exercise of gratitude will never fail to strengthen that self-belief and reconnect you to your purpose. And so the last step is to come from abundance. You start inhabiting your new life in your mind now, and you do every action from that space. When you think about it, the impulse of the universe, well, it's growth and increase. A flower is born to grow from a seed and bloom. It increases, it grows. A tree grows. When you apply this to yourself, what that means is that you are seeking your fullest expression. The world benefits from your fullest expression. You share your purpose when you are able to use your unique gifts to make the impact that you were meant to make. So share that. Let other people see it. And when they see you fully expressing yourself and they feel the energy that you are offering them a gift, they will automatically want to associate with you. Have you ever met those people who have huge energy and they attract people like they're the North Star? They are fully expressing themselves. And when you're around them, their energy, their excellence, their freedom of expression, their use of their gifts, well, that touches you. And you benefit both from their natural talent and energy, but also from what they create. And so this is the same. You, like them, you're doing this for others. Now, the key here is self-belief. You do not convey the impression of abundance unless you have unshakable faith that you are awesome and that the person in front of you will benefit from being in contact with you. If you don't believe it, they won't either. They will sense that through your body language, through your energy. The goal here is to give them the sense that you are giving more than you are taking. Whew. Okay, we covered a lot in this episode. You now have a 4-step process that will help you create the vision, create the feeling, orient toward that, and then set milestones to check that define that roadmap for yourself. So I very much hope that you either paused this podcast or you are going to come back to it and do it when you have a moment to sit down and really take the time to reflect and write this down. And that every day for 90 days, morning and night, you check in on this vision. And then you take stock in 90 days and you see how well it's working for you. Because I can attest, it works. It works well. It's incredible how well. So you're set with your vision and your roadmap. You are ready to make 2025 your best year yet. And in 2025, we are going to begin working with women like yourself who are fed up with checking boxes that aren't yours and doing more of the same and not feeling fulfilled and getting the same results. You are ready to reimagine yourself. So reach out to us on Instagram soon if you're ready to commit to making 2025 an epic year. Our program launches in January. Today, I feel grateful for our incredible ability to adapt to changing environments. The world is very different now than when I was born. I suspect it will be an even bigger change over the course of my son's life. Our flexible ability to change how we make sense of the world and who we are within that is how we land on our feet when what we know is turned upside down. Thank you so much for listening. If you found this podcast interesting or useful, there are 3 low-effort, high-impact ways you can support us. Follow and then rate the podcast. Leave us some stars. And also, if you know someone who is checking more of the same boxes and not feeling fulfilled and is ready to reimagine themselves, share this episode. You can find all episodes of Me Reimagined on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you leave a voice note or a comment, I'll reply. With love, until next time.
You do not carry this all alone. No, you do not carry this all alone. This is way too big for you to carry this on your own. So you do not carry this all alone.